Cheat code. Support Strategist by Clouds. My head in the clouds, not coming down. On AO3. Chapter 50. Possibilities. Izuku muttered to himself as he worked, not bothering to stop it since the only people around to hear him weren't going to be annoyed. So then, if we just use that marker and adjust the sensitivity... He jumped when Dr. Shield laughed. Nessa said you two were impressive. But I just have to say, I wasn't expecting you to tackle revolutionary technology in your first week. Izuku blushed. I mean, it's not that revolutionary, is it? Gravity tracking already exists and all the components are being used in new and interesting ways, Dr. Shield finished. That's what progress is, Midoriya. It's taking something that already exists and changing it to fill a need, just like you're doing for your friend. Izuku winced. I guess you probably think it's insane to work so hard just for one person, huh? I mean, aren't support companies supposed to develop and sell as many as possible to as many people? To his surprise, Dr. Shield shrugged. That actually comes later, most of the time. What usually happens is that you invent something first and then find more users for it later. Because most needs aren't unique. Just look at what Hatsume is working on. Melissa came up with the concept to help panic attacks, and now she's using it to predict a difficult quirk. Imagine how revolutionary those earrings will be in a few years when she figures out how to modify them to other quirks as well, and starts marketing them to children who haven't quite figured out yet. That's a possibility, and she could make childhood quirk accidents almost non-existent with this base tech that she's working on now. Inventors are made to build off of one another and grow. It's how we move forward. Izuku bit his lip thoughtfully. May says something like that a lot. Basically, she says that failure is a good thing because even failure helps fuel the next success. Dr. Shield smiled. She's pretty smart. Izuku nodded, dramatically in agreement. Definitely. She's amazing, and she knows it, which is even more impressive. Dr. Shield laughed. Just remember that you're allowed to steal some of that confidence for yourself, too. Your work has just as much potential as hers does, you know? For example, let's consider the program you're writing. What do you want to do? Izuku frowned and looked at his almost finished code. It's supposed to track Uraraka's quirk so we know where she is without having to rely on a GPS tracker, which could be dangerous when she becomes a pro hero. That's a good base. It will be very useful to both her and her support team when she's a hero, Dr. Shield praised. Now, let's start taking away those original boundaries. Who else can you program help? What else can it do? What else could it do? He designed it with Uraraka in mind, so it could even be useful for someone else? It was primarily a tracking program, but what was really only useful for people who were going to be teleporting, and there weren't that many others. That Izuku knew of, it was only Uraraka and a couple civilians and Kurogiri. Oh! Izuku's eyes widened. Oh! Come up with something good? Dr. Shield grinned. Those ideas are lifeblood and innovation. Keep on working. I'm excited to see what you come up with. Shigaraki wasn't going to be happy. Sure, the league had made front page in the newspaper and the media wouldn't stop talking about the attack. But it seemed like every single news outlet had decided to balance the tragedy and fear from the Nomu attack with a feel-good story about Todoroki and that stupid cat. There were even memes about him. But of course, Shigaraki was a worse attention hog than Mountain Lady, so Mineta assumed he wouldn't be content with just that, especially since his most recent tantrum probably meant that Stain had rejected the offer to join. No, Stain meant that pretty much the only thing they'd actually accomplished with the USJ attack, which obviously didn't make them seem complete. Recruiting Stain would have added their credibility and elevated their status in the underworld, hopefully leading to new recruits in the future. But now that was all gone, and all that was left was Shigaraki throwing temper tantrums. Real good publicity right there. Are you really just gonna stare at Mount Lady's ass the entire patrol? Jiro snapped. Seriously, if I'd known our mentors were going to work together, I would have gone with someone else. Mount Lady and Death Arms work together all the time, Mineta said, sweetly, stalling as he recovered from spacing out. Unlike you, I did my research. Ugh. Jiro sneered down at him with disgust. Stupid little grape, you planned this. He hadn't, but he wasn't opposed to letting her think he put all this energy into peeping rather than spying. Guilty as charged. Aw, don't be like that. I just like you girls so much. She jammed her earphone jack at him, and he only managed to close his eyes in time. Yeah, shut up. Owl, Mineta smirked. I like a girl who can charge. Jiro gagged. Gross. I'm gonna go get lunch. Don't you dare follow me. Normally, he would have ignored her and followed her anyways. But he got a text from Kirigiri earlier to call as soon as possible, which normally meant a mission. There was a chance it was just another side quest from Shigaraki, but it was always possible that the assignment came from All for One, in which case it was best not to ignore. After checking to make sure Mount Lady wouldn't miss him, he found a quiet alley to duck into and pulled out his phone. It rang twice before Kirigiri picked up. Hello, I hope your information gathering is going well. Of course it is. Mineta grinned. I'm not an amateur. I sure hope not, Kirigiri drawled. Otherwise, the next mission would be far outside of your expertise. Oh? Mineta started to get excited. And what is the next mission? Stain, Kirigiri said simply. Sensei wants you to capture him. Mineta choked. Capture Stain? The hero killer. Will that be a problem? Kirigiri challenged. I thought with your quirk, capturing a man who relies on hit-and-run techniques would be child's play. But if not, I can always let Sensei know that. I'll do it, Mineta assured quickly. Just ask Sensei when he wants it done. You have 2 weeks, Kirigiri responded. Don't disappoint us. Ochako felt like she was finally getting the hang of this teleportation thing. She couldn't quite use it in fights yet, but in tonight's game of hide-and-seek, she had been able to consistently get to approximately the same hallway as her target. Even if she just managed to find the correct room, she was used to getting the sensations of both teleporting and one for all, and she was even starting to figure out how different anchors points felt. It wasn't much, but it was still progress. The system Midoriya had suggested for preventing her warps worked decently well, and with the extra warning, Shinso was able to stop her about half the time. They never had more than a few seconds, though, which meant that Shinso had to tell her how his quirk worked. He pulled her aside just before breakfast, and she'd been terrified at first because he looked so nervous. I need to be able to brainwash you quickly, Uraraka. He refused to look at her in the eyes as he spoke, which means that I can't afford the time it takes to confuse you. So confusion is what activates your quirk, Uraraka had yelled. No. Shinso had somehow gotten even more nervous. Its verbal response. She had to spend the rest of the morning coaxing him to talk to her, which was mildly frustrating, but she understood why. People had probably avoided his questions in the past, but he hadn't taken control of her when they've talked before, so why would he now? Plus, it made it significantly easier for her to stay put. because as soon as Shinso's phone gave them the notification, he just said her name like it was a question, and all she had to do was say yes, so he could order her not to teleport. It felt so cool that she was in the know that it almost made up for her not being able to stop on her own. Almost. As soon as Gun had released them for the evening, one of the other interns, a second year named Shindo, and Kurubursu, immediately called out for everyone's attention. "All right, guys, dinner time. Who wants to go eat out?" She looked over at Shinso, who shrugged. "I could eat." "Let's walk together." One of the other guys turned to her. "No cheating. You can't teleport to get there faster." Ochako rolled her eyes. "You know that's not how my quirk works. I need an anchor point that's already at the restaurant." "Still don't worry about her falling behind." Shinso smirked. "You remember how strong she is from when she made you eat the mat earlier?" The guy groaned as everyone else laughed, and Ochako fell into step with the group. Shinso right beside her. He was good at making sure the other boys didn't make fun of her, but she was also providing that she deserved to be there in her own right as well. Sure, she still lost more spars than she won, but she did win. It was a good feeling. So, Shinso slowed down. So, Shindo slowed down as he was walking beside them. "What are you guys going to do when you get back to UA?" Shinso shrugged. "Probably make sure my kidnappers don't destroy more than about 30% of the school." Shindo gave a vague concerned look. "That's good? What about you, Uraraka?" "Oh, you know," she gestured vaguely. "Don't do drugs, stay in school." Well, the other one probably won't work very well, actually. Shinso tried and failed to hold back a snort. "Yeah, she'll probably just be here and there. She gets around, you know." Shindo sighed and shook his head. "I don't know what I expected. Do you guys have other friends? Are they just as bad as you two are?" "Oh, my kidnappers definitely are." Shinso nodded. "And they're working on corrupting the rest." "Are you kidding? Half of them are already corrupted." Ochako laughed, not really registering when Shinso got a text. "I mean, last month, Mina pulled this prank where—" A wave of nausea hit her, followed by a wave of frustration when she realized she didn't have a clue where she was. Dang it. Mina was having a blast. Yuri Musha was way more dignified than she was used to, but she made him fun to play off. Plus, she was learning a lot about being a hero, although she wasn't afraid to admit that she was just a little bit jealous of Todoroki. He got to meet a cute cat and go viral. Seriously, how was that fair? They were half an hour into their evening patrol when her phone rang. Loudly. She flinched and looked at Yuri, sheepishly. I forgot to put this on silent." He had a smile on his face, and she almost deflated in relief when she realized he wasn't angry, just amused. "It's a slow night, so you can go ahead and answer it. Perhaps it's important. A hero should always be reachable." Mina nodded and hurried to answer the phone. "Pinky here. What can I do for ya?" To her surprise, Shinso's voice greeted her on the other end. "Is Uraraka with you?" "Uraraka?" Mina frowned. "Aren't you both entering with Gunhead? Shouldn't she be with you?" "Theoretically," Shinso groaned. Can you just take a look around and tell me if you see her anywhere?" Sure?" Mina pulled the retriever away and turned back to Yuri, who was looking at her with one eyebrow raised in question. "It's a friend of mine. He's asking if another friend was with me?" Yuri frowned. "Are they interning in this city?" "No, they're about an hour away," Mina answered as she started scanning the streets. "So, I'm not sure why she would be here, but— Oh! Ochako! Over here!" Ochako was still in work clothes, but she was grinning as she jogged towards them. Hey, Mina, I was wondering when I was gonna run into you. What are you doing here? Mina asked, giving her a quick hug. I thought you were interning with Gunhead. Oh, I am, Ochako assured her. It's just this thing has been super weird lately, but enough about me. How are you? I'm good, Mina said. I mean, it's super fun and I'm learning a lot, but are you allowed to be so far away from your agency? Oh, this is nothing, Uraraka murmured. I mean, technically no, but again, everything's been super weird. Yeah, Mina frowned. I was just so surprised when Shinso called. Oh, wait! I totally forgot to tell him I found you. She held the forgotten phone up to her ear, glancing away from Midoraka for a second. Hey, Shinso? Yeah, I found her. Wait, where? Oh, she's back, Shinso said suddenly. Well, down the street, but close enough. Thanks, Mina. See you later. You're welcome? Mina let the phone fall and hung up. He says she's back with him. Yuri looked just as confused as she felt. I thought you said they were an hour away. They are. Mina looked at the spot Uraraka had just been a second before. Super weird. Are we gonna have Izuku, or I guess in this instance it would be cheat code, catches Kurogiri moment? I need to see that. I need to see cheat code, aka Izuku, capture the League of Villains. I want him to be their downfall. That's what I want. You know, it's what I crave. I also am very interested with how they're turning up with Mineta, because he genuinely doesn't seem like a perv anymore. Instead, he just seems like a villain, which then comes the question of like, okay, he said he was not like, he mentioned that he was experienced in that, whatever, you mentioned that, and I'm like, hold up, is this not his first time he's spied for people before? Like, it's also new and interesting, and I can't wait for the more chapters to come. I'm also happy that I was able to get this video out in time, I'm getting back into the groove of recording and all that, which is wonderful and amazing and a hassle, but it's getting done, and I will be able to fully go back to the daily uploads and at time, at 2 p.m. when they're supposed to happen. As always, make sure to eat, sleep, drink water, take your meds, have a wonderful day or night, join our community Discord server, link is in the description, subscribe to see more of my content, and thank you so much for watching.